Hey, what's going on, Los Angeles? Welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB network. We are Los Angeles sports in a rainy Los Angeles, coming at you from the LAFB lounge with my man Skinny T, talking all things Rams. We're going to talk some wide receiver free agents. Rams need some of those. We'll talk about what the depth chart looks like and some potential guys. Obviously, they will look in the draft as well, but we'll talk draft a little further down the line. The combine invites actually, ironically, were just announced today. So, but we'll get to that later. We're talking free agents today. We got to talk a little Stafford. I know we dedicated our whole show just a few days ago to Stafford, but more rumors, hot and heavy, are coming, and he's obviously the face of the franchise. So we'll talk a little about that. But first and foremost, Skinny T, how are you doing today on this rainy afternoon?
I don't like the rain. I like it when it's sunny and warm in Southern California. That's why I love San Francisco. I didn't want to be cold ever again. They didn't tell me it rains here. It's great.
Rain.
Yeah, it's great that we're getting it. It gives everything just a different flavor, different color around here. So it's a good change of pace.
Yeah. See, I love the rain, but I think it's because it rains like 10 days a year here. So it's a nice change. Like, I'm sure if I lived in it, like we were up in Vancouver back in November and it rained the whole weekend. And I was like, this is great. I love it. I can wear like a coat. It's kind of like gloomy out. Like it just feels nice. But I'm like, if this was 300 days a year, it would really get old.
Yeah. No, one of the things I love about LA is just the sunshine. I didn't realize it being from Minnesota and live in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But that the 300 days of sunshine is what I like.
Oh yeah. And the rain is like not bad if you don't have to like go anywhere. Like we work from home, me and you. So it's like, okay, cool. Yeah. I can enjoy like the cold, bundle up, have my coffee and my blanket. But if I had to like commute or take the train every day and it rained every day, yeah, that would be really old. But right now it's nice and we do need it. So hopefully don't have any crazy mudslides because of it, as we probably will. But we do need the rain overall. So it's it's here, and we had it last week and a little bit more tomorrow. And all that. So quickly before we get into this Rams talk, I know you're not a big hockey guy, but have you watched this? It just started last night, the Four Nations tournament, or have you even heard of it?
I have heard of it. I watched some highlights. I watched Sidney Crosby score an amazing goal. He had an amazing assist.
Yeah, to my guy, Nate McKinnon, Avalanche right there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, now that we're covering hockey, you're going to get more into it. Now that you just wrote our first Kings article yesterday. Look at that.
There we go.
Kings. Hockey's up on LAFB Network for all the Kings fans out there. But tonight, so when everyone watches this, it'll probably be Friday, so they would have missed it. But Thursday night, so tonight for me and you live, USA plays. So I recommend watching it, USA-Finland. I watched a little bit of the Canada-Sweden game. It's kind of genius because NHL, all these leagues, their Pro Bowl All-Star game has just gone down the drain. Like no one cares about it. And so as a test thing, the NHL this year, they're not having an all-star game. This is their all-star game, the Four Nations tournament. And it's like genius. It's 2 weeks off. The players are passionate about it. The countries are passionate about it. Like the only drawback of it is it's only 4 countries. You're missing out. There's like really good players in the NHL from Russia, from Czech Republic, from these other countries that don't get to participate. But the test model, I think, is genius. Like think if the NBA did that. Like you have all these great Slovenian players now and from all over the world. And France,
for a short time, the NHL was doing like a North America versus the world format. This was like, I don't know, probably 20 years ago by now, but that would be really cool for the NBA. Somebody's got to fix the NFL Pro Bowl.
I just don't know. I don't know how you even fix it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, here's my one big idea for it is the guys play the flag football or whatever, but you play a different position than what you normally play.
Okay.
So you got, Travis Kelce as quarterback and you got, Aaron Rodgers as safety or whatever. I think that would be cool.
I like it. One other thing they could do is like the NBA's done this. The NHL has also done this, but do it like still your normal Pro Bowl, who gets in, but then the teams are vets versus like rookies. If you could have enough, that's the only hard thing. Is like, would you have? It wouldn't just be rookies. You'd have to do like 1 and 2 and 3 year players to fill out a whole team. But that could maybe be interesting, right? You have a bunch of like young guns against the wily old vets.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
But anyway, show is always brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to betonline.ag today. All the best game lines. Baseball spring training is kicking off. So baseball betting is back soon. But obviously you can wager on the NHL, that Four Nations tournament if you want, NBA, Lakers looking good. Big win in Luka's debut. So lots of stuff there. All of it being done at betonline.ag. Telling the guys at the LAFB network sent you. We'll start with Stafford, and we won't talk a ton on it, Skinny, since we did obviously dedicate a whole show to it, but he's the storyline right now. And Colin Cowherd just today, so we have an article up about it on LAFBnetwork.com. You can check out. He's a connected guy. He's a radio guy, so obviously he's gonna just stir the pot a little bit for views, and that's what you do. That's what we do, right? That's what voices of teams do. But I don't think he makes things up, and he is very connected, plugged in, respected around the league. Lives here in LA, so runs the LA sports team circles. I've seen him in the USC press box multiple times. So he's all over in Los Angeles, so with the Rams, and basically he said this Rams Giants Stafford to the Giants rumor is very real. Not saying it's going to happen, but there's definite going to be discussions between the teams of it happening. So before we even, jump into his proposal, does that shock you? Are you surprised by that? That of all the teams out there, the Giants is the one that might actually it happen?
Well, when you break it down, you look at that team. There's a lot of great pieces on that team. So, are they a quarterback away? Maybe. I mean, they had Drew Lock and Danny Jones in the pocket last year.
Don't forget Tommy DeVito, baby.
Tommy Cutlets.
Tommy Cutlets, come on.
That guy's agent screwed me twice. But there's got some good pieces on defense. So drop Stafford in there. Brian Daboll might save his job. And, we were talking about it last time. Desperation does weird things.
Mm-hmm.
Now what Cowherd was talking about in terms of the compensation, that's a slam dunk. I don't know if they would go that high. But, he was also talking about maybe the Rams are getting a little tired of this dance they're doing with Stafford. This kind of, every year we're going back to the negotiating table. You want more guaranteed money. I think he deserves it. I think he should, get a good sizable contract. Mm-hmm. But, what do you think about those things? Tired of Kelly Stafford, talking, he brought up that, that maybe the two sides are just getting tired of looking at each other.
Well, that was to me, the most interesting, the trade rumors are, and we'll get to that in just a second. But again, I don't think he would make it up, but I'm curious how, who he has heard this from, if it's straight from the horse's mouth or kind of hearsay, or if it's just more speculation because it has happened a lot. But it's the first time I've really heard any person with any knowledge say that there's a little bit of distaste between the two sides. Always is, it comes out these rumors come out of contracts, but all the sides, Stafford's yep, I want to be here, but we got to get it done. And McVay and Snead are yep, Stafford's our guy. We got to get it done. That's kind of where it stays. Now we don't know what happens behind the scenes. And we've talked a lot about what takes so long. There's got to be something that's actually going on that it takes that long. But this is the first time someone's kind of said that there might be some distaste, what you just said, that the organization is getting a little tired of always this, a little tired of Kelly Stafford. He even brought up Cooper Kupp, they're over his Cowherd said they're over Cooper Kupp. Basically when Kupp announced on social that the Rams were going to trade him, that seemed to really burn the bridge with the Rams and almost made them upset based on what Cowherd's saying here. I haven't heard that from anyone, but based on what he's saying is that really kind of peeved them off a little bit because they were trying to do it behind closed doors and probably wanted to send him somewhere that he wanted to go. And then he came out publicly and said, I don't agree with it, but the Rams are trading me into this, blah, blah, blah. And that seemed to not do it well. And obviously Kelly Stafford comes out to Cooper Kupp's defense. Obviously they're good friends. And so they're kind of, Stafford and Kupp are kind of tied together. And so based on what Cowherd is saying is there's that distaste because of that whole thing. And that goes a little bit to Stafford too. So I was definitely a little surprised to hear that. Again, I don't know how factual that is or how much that's more just conjecture and speculation, but it was the first time we've heard that, because we've never heard that from, the great Peter Schrager. We've never heard that from any of these other kind of insiders, that there's been a discourse. It's always just been the contract and that's it. Got to fear the contract and that's it. So that was surprising. Were you surprised by that too?
Yeah, definitely. And the other things that have come out recently about how long actually last year's negotiation, they were talking months that those talks for Stafford were going on for a long time. I thought it was something that popped up just before camp, and that's why they dealt with it in the way that they did. Right before camp was about to start, they signed the paperwork. So, yeah, I'm surprised by all of this. Sean McVay, by his own admission, is probably not the most patient person in the world. He recognizes this, and it's hard to compare these two situations because they're obviously very different. But look back at what happened with Goff. It was like Goff was his guy until he wasn't.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And they one of the Sneedisms that I like is if it's inevitable, make it immediate. That was something that they talked about with their Ernest Jones. So, is there something inevitable? If it's an inevitable, make it immediate. Yeah. If is there something inevitable here with Stafford? And the truth is, yes, there is something inevitable. He's going to be off of this team in the next couple of years or sooner. So, maybe something immediate is about to happen.
It's feeling a lot more like that. Like how crazy it kind of sounded at the trade deadline. As crazy as it even sounded after the season. And now it's feeling like it's very really might happen. So that Cowherd's, what he went on to say, and this is where it sounded like he has direct knowledge, because he's saying the Rams are asking. So I don't know if him just saying this and projecting it, or they literally have already spoken. But he said, and I'll post the clip below so people, or just go to LAFB Network. We have it on the website there. But he's saying the Rams are asking for the third overall pick, the Giants' third overall pick. The Giants don't like, and this we do know, the Giants don't like this quarterback class. They need a quarterback. They don't like this quarterback class. So the Rams want their third pick plus a third or a fourth or something else on top. And with that third pick, the Rams would then trade back, as the Rams do, get more picks, be able to use those more picks next year to then trade up and take their quarterback of the future. So by doing that, they would get more picks. They would trade back. They could take a really good receiver or another position of need, and then they would go sign a bridge quarterback. Like we mentioned, we talked about him last episode, but the one Cowherd specifically brought up was signing Aaron Rodgers. Now, I know Aaron Rodgers is not liked by many for his personality and for how he kind of derailed the Jets and for many other reasons. But when you look at purely on the field play, this scenario, as crazy as it kind of sounds, is kind of a no-brainer. If you can get the third overall pick plus another pick, turn that 3 into 2, 3, 4 more picks, you get a quarterback right now for a fraction of the cost, because they'd probably be able to sign Rodgers to that 20 to 35. I know it's a huge gap, but 20 to 35 million versus 40 to 50 million that Stafford wants. And the level of play, as crazy as everyone thinks, and we were talking before the show, there's this vision that Rodgers fell off a cliff last year, and he definitely was not what Rodgers used to be. But Rodgers had more yards than Matthew Stafford and had more touchdowns than Matthew Stafford and had probably the worst coaching staff in football. A lot of that his own fault.
Yeah.
But on the field play, it wouldn't be a huge drop-off. He comes from, originally played with Matt LaFleur, who's Mike LaFleur's brother, so he would know the system, and I'm not worried about all that anyway. So I don't know. I still want to be very clear. I still want a deal to get done with Stafford. I want him to retire a Ram. I think it just makes more sense for him to stay here, keep that locker room continuity together, his leadership, have him right off, hopefully into the sunset as a Ram. I still want that to get done. But if the sides are far off based on what we're kind of hearing now, if you can turn Stafford into a cheaper Rodgers and get 4 draft picks out of it, it's kind of a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, the compensation is amazing. Now, I don't know about the fit with Rodgers and McVay. I think that would be some butting of heads about
couple darkness retreats, I guess, in there.
some ayahuasca and some Cabo tequila. Yeah. I mean, the trade for 3 is good enough in my book. Now I was just looking at kind of like the top draft picks. I don't know if there's anybody that they'd want to go for that high, like is Travis Hunter the answer, they're looking for? So yeah, I could definitely see them trading back. It's an exciting proposition. But at the end of the day, they still have no answer for quarterback for the long term. So, I mean, obviously if they set themselves up for 2026 to go get one of those guys, which should be a stronger class, you're in a better situation, but still leaves the door open to just be in quarterback purgatory for who knows how long.
Yeah. It's still a risk. You're playing with a lot. Like I would still, regardless of what Minnesota does, like if they pull this trade off and get number 3, great. I would still go after Darnold. That's still my guy. And people are going to get sick of me saying it, but that's who I would go get.
Sure.
Just because he gives you a little bit more, like, yeah, even if they go after the next year's draft class, they're that 1 to 2 year bridge quarterback, but you never know that guy's going to work out, right? Like how many first round quarterbacks don't pan out? Darnold at least gives you, he's 27. Like he can give you a 2, 3, 4, 5 year gap if you need it, where he's not like a Hall of Famer, but he can play. Like we saw this year, he can play. I don't care what anyone says. The guy can play. He's not going to be top 10. He's probably not even top 15, but he can be in that top 20 range and back end, especially in this McVay offense. So to me, that's still the guy to go get. But man, I want to see Stafford here and back. But if you somehow pull off getting the 3rd overall pick for a 37-year-old quarterback with a bloated contract, it's kind of a no-brainer.
I think so. And everybody laughed when Atlanta, did the Kirk Cousins things and draft Penix. I liked it because
we were sitting together like, whoa.
It builds in a safety net for yourself if Cousin falls off. So I would actually love that scenario where a bridge quarterback for a couple of years that you can move on from if things don't work out, and the guy you draft turns out to be the dude. I like that. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah. I still love me some Jackson Dart. I still think he's an underrated prospect too. A lot of people are saying now is the clear QB3. So he may be going higher than originally thought a month ago. At least by the median fans. I'm sure teams all had him as QB3 for a long time. But anyway, so that's the latest on Stafford. We'll keep you updated on everything as that keeps coming out. I know it's bizarre. We're not. Yeah, we've said it enough.
These things sound crazy until they happen.
Yeah.
And then it happens,
And we've covered this team long enough. Fans listening have been fans of this team long enough. Know that if there's any team to do the crazy, it's the Rams. Like no fan. I hate when they say like, nope, never going to happen. I'm like, have you watched this team for the last decade? Like, have you seen what they do in free agency and the trade market and draft day?
Yeah.
Why would you doubt anything ever?
And it's been a minute, so I think Leslie probably
know, right?
He's got to do something crazy.
Is McVay in Cabo right now? Where is he?
Yeah, somebody get eyes on McVay. Find out what he's up to.
He was in New Orleans last week. Maybe he's in Cabo now. That's where apparently deals get done. So, or maybe he's on a darkness tour, and this whole thing's just happening right now.
But Stafford, McVay, and Rodgers are all sitting in some hut in Peru, all together working it out.
That'd be fun. So, all right, let's talk receivers a little bit. Hey, what's going on, family? Got to quickly tell you about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy, new sponsor and friend of the show. One of the most fun games out there, fantasy games you can do in the industry today. Super easy to do. Go to the App Store or go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Download today. Use our promo code LAFB, or you can just click the link in the description wherever you are watching. That promo code is going to give the new user that you have just become a free pick, one free pick, and up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's free money. Up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Why would you not want to do that for a simple deposit? Just make sure to use that promo code LAFB or click the link below. The game is super easy. It's super fun. Pick 2 to 8 players in a game. Go ahead and go with the higher or lower, whether they're going to have more passing yards, touchdowns, receiving yards, rushing yards, any of that. It's a lot of fun. And just choose higher or lower. That's easy with the opportunity to win. So, go to Underdog Fantasy today. Promo code LAFB gets you a free entry and up to $1,000 bonus cash. With the moving of Kupp, when that ever does happen, The Rams will have what do we say? Three receivers total on the roster.
Three receivers: Puka Nacua, Jordan Whittington, and Xavier Smith. Those are the three. Tyler Johnson's going to be free agent. Tutu Atwell is going to be free agent. Demarcus Robinson is also going to be a free agent. So it's all going to look very different.
Yeah. So the Rams will certainly draft a receiver at some point with one of their picks. They'll definitely draft one. Most teams do every year anyway. That's just a position when you carry 6 to 7 a year, you want to have a rookie on that rotation. So one of the scenarios, if they were to get the 3rd overall pick and trade back, depending how far they trade back, is they could select McMillan Trattoria out of Arizona, the number 1 receiver, which, I mean, that'd be kind of exciting. But anyway, we're talking draft later. So free agents. Let me ask you this first before we look at some potential free agent ads, because what I don't think the Rams will do is trade Kupp primarily because of his contract and then go pay a big contract for a free agent receiver. I don't think they'll do that. As we just said 5 minutes ago, I'm never going to say never with this team because they always surprise everyone. But that's just my thought process. Is it's going to be more of like that middle of the road kind of a role-playing receiver. So before we get to that list, just let me ask you this. Of the 3 free agents, Tutu, DeMarcus, and Tyler Johnson, do they bring any back? Or are they all gone?
I think they're all gone. The reporting on Tutu Atwell sounds like it's time to move on. Tyler Johnson, I could see coming back on a cheap deal, but he's not a needle mover.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Demarcus Robinson probably priced himself out. I think he had a fantastic year, caught a bunch of touchdowns, was pretty clutch for the team. So I think he's getting, into that. I think he's right around 31 coming up. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So he's looking for the biggest contract he can possibly get, I imagine, more so than trying to find a championship team or something like that. So I think he's going to get snapped up. So, I see Tyler Johnson maybe. Yeah.
I actually see Demarcus Robinson back. I agree with you. He may have upped his contract worth. Do you remember what his deal? I know it was just a 1-year deal. Remember what it was worth this past when he signed with the Rams?
I will look that up, but it wasn't huge. It was,
here I'm on
maybe a couple million.
Yeah, it was a 1 year, $4 million. 1 year, $4 million. At 31 years old, we talked about Kupp, how, unfortunately with receivers, like the back half of 30 is like the deterioration of receivers. Like that's just where they all like disappear, it seems like. So while he played great, and I don't disagree with you, his demand may be a little higher. I'm not sure how much more he'll get than that. And I could see the Rams still giving him $4 million. I don't think they'd bat an eye on that. So I don't know if it gets done, but out of those 3, I'm going to go with, I think Demarcus Robinson could actually be back just because he is that touchdown threat that it's so different from the rest of the room. Well, now there's like really just no room, but he gives you that size and jump ball ability in the end zone that they don't have. So I'll go with him back. But of the rest of the free agents, there's a lot of big name wide receivers. So we'll just kind of go back and forth. We can go back and forth. Just who's a name you're looking at as a potential ad?
Well, I can see them going, doubling down on an expensive receiver. You got Nacua still on a rookie deal. There's really only one guy that age and skill level are still at the same level. That's T. Higgins. I mean, I don't know. They're not going to have the money to pay him though, just because he is the product out there, and everybody's going to want him. And I think he's going to be such a hot commodity. I think the Bengals are going to be fighting for him. I think the Chargers are going to be fighting for him. So I just have a hard time seeing that one getting done. An interesting one is Chris Godwin. And then, but you can kind of get into that Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua back and forth because they both play a lot in the slot. Nacua plays a bit more on the outside, but could they find a complement in there? I don't know. Yeah,
certainly. Those are 2 names and 2 of the bigger names. But I agree, Godwin is very similar to what they already have with Puka Nacua, and we saw. I mean, if we're being real, you can blame injury, you can blame Kupp getting injured, but in reality, I think it was they just played the same position. And so everyone was like, man, I can't wait till they're both healthy and we can see Nacua and Kupp together. in reality, they were never dominant together. Like they weren't. Whether one was, even when they were healthy together, it was one or the other. And so I think that proved a little bit that you need different style to have that dominant passing game because they just really were the same type of player in a way. As weird as that sounds, and I still think it could work. Not blaming Stafford or McVay or whatever, but it just didn't. I mean, there's really no evidence that they were ever dominant together on the field at the same time. So would signing Godwin just bring that same problem, or would they find a different way around it? So let me throw this at you. We wrote about it also, another rumor a few days ago. And it's even funnier now with the whole potential Rodgers connection with the Rams. But the Jets are obviously going to probably move on from Davante Adams as well. And we don't, most likely will have to be a trade. I don't know what his dead cap money would hit if they just cut him, but it seems like they're just cleaning house and moving that. And he said himself, like, he would love to end up with either the Chargers, the Niners, or the Rams, be on the West Coast. So regardless of Rodgers, let's like not even put him in this scenario, but it just makes it that much more interesting. But is that a name that even if they had to trade, do you see a fit there? Or is that another, like, is it just like trading Cooper Kupp for Cooper Kupp in a way?
Well, he's been healthier than Cooper Kupp. We don't know what he's going to cost if he gets cut and clears waivers,
Yeah.
Or, a trade. I mean, you can definitely renegotiate that contract. So
yeah, which they would.
Yeah, of course. But it's very, very intriguing. I like it a lot. It's one of those receivers that the Rams really haven't had that kind of dominant ball winner outside. He's got it. I mean, he's got all the stuff. His production's been off, but he's been in a couple of the worst situations in the league. Any Raider is going to look pretty terrible the last couple of years. So I think I really like that as an option, especially because, if you bring Stafford back anyway, or Rodgers for that matter, like that's a great fit for either one of those quarterbacks, especially Stafford. Think back to Calvin Johnson days. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's funny is similar to Rodgers is there was this kind of perception of Adams really falling off. I need to find the stats here, but his final 6 games with the Jets, obviously, were actually really good when you look at his final 6 versus Kupp's final 6. Let me try to find this for you.
Yeah, that's a tough comparison right there. Kupp's final 6 were some of the worst games of his career.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think this is it. Let me find it. Yeah, okay. So final 6 games, Kupp had 20 catches, 222 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I just did the same stretch, so not the playoffs, so just the final 6 regular season games. Davante Adams had 41 catches, 576 yards, and 6 touchdowns with the Jets. So take that for what you want. Whether you, and again, the Jets also had Garrett Wilson, so it's not like it was only him. So similar to the Rams having Puka Nacua, the Jets had Garrett Wilson, same draft class and everything.
And Allen Lazard.
Oh yeah, don't forget Lazard. So now the interesting thing is Adams' cap hit is $38.2 million. Kupp's, I believe, is $30 million. So it's actually a higher cap hit. But as you said, obviously if he's cut, that's different. He's free agent and you sign him to whatever. Even if they have to trade, there would be the trade would only happen if the Rams have guarantees that they're going to be able to renegotiate and take that way, way down. So the bigger question is, do you think you'll get A, better production from Adams, and B, more versatile fit in what he can do? Now, I was looking in it more because I always just kind of like assumed that Adams was a much bigger receiver, plays on the outside. Kupp's actually bigger than Adams, surprisingly. Not by like an inch. He's like, I think Adams like 6'1" and Kupp's 6'2", and weight, they're 10-pound difference. And Adams played actually a lot in the slot as well this past year. Now, he did play a lot more on the outside than Kupp did, but he wasn't a solely X receiver, kind of like I assumed, or maybe like he even just was in the beginning of his career. So I think that perception might be a little off. that he's probably a little bit more similar to Kupp than what the perception is. However, he did play a lot more on the outside than Kupp did. He had a lot more production. So take that for what you want. I don't know what it would look like. I would prefer, like, if he's a free agent, go get him for sure. I'd be all in on that. I don't know if it's worth trading assets for, though.
Yeah. What about a Kupp Davante Adams trade? Who says no?
Well, that was the article that I wrote, was like basically a swap. The Rams would have to give up picks for it because they're, I don't know, just for whatever reason, the production is something. So, yeah, I don't know who would say no. Both guys both guys are moving. Both guys are not staying with their teams. So why not just swap them and call it a day?
And another name that the Rams could probably get for pretty cheap. It's a bit of a reclamation project. Had a terrible year. He was on 4 teams last year. Deontay Johnson. I've always liked that guy.
You have always liked that guy. Yeah, he was on 4 teams? I knew he moved around. I didn't realize he was on 4.
Yeah, 4 teams.
Wow.
But,
hey, the Rams love their projects.
Yeah, exactly. Stints in Carolina, Baltimore, and Houston, and then maybe it was just 3 teams, but still an impressive amount of teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, they love their projects, so never say never. You've got other names like Amari Cooper. I don't know what he would cost, especially he's 31 years old. But obviously a talent. DeAndre Hopkins just actually announced he's retiring, so he would not be an option. Big Mike Williams, I don't know how much he has left. He did not look good last year with the Jets, and then getting traded to the Steelers really did nothing at 31 years old. But we know with his time with the Chargers, he has that jump ball capability, which the Rams lack. Obviously, Demarcus Robinson, if they bring him back, they kind of are able to use him for that role. But Mike Williams in his prime was one of the best at that. So if you get him for super cheap, maybe that's a compliment there. I mean, there's not like a guy. I mean, one name, I think I'll throw 2 more at you. Yeah, 2 more at you. Then if you have anyone else, let me know.
Okay.
So one that I'm actually intrigued by, but again, this is what's so hard, is like, how different would they be than what Puka Nacua and Jordan Whittington is? Because Whittington can kind of be that slot guy too. Joshua Palmer from the Chargers, a guy that doesn't seem like he's going to be re-signed by the Chargers, only 26 years old, has flashed some talent, has some good speed, some good size. But again, I think more of like a slot type receiver. Like when the Chargers were actually healthy and they had Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Palmer and Williams were real similar. Like Palmer and Keenan Allen were very similar. Like Allen was great in the slot. Palmer would play on the outside some, but also would play in the slot some. So would he give you much? But in terms of just age and cost, he would certainly fit the bill. So your thoughts on Palmer? And then the last one, what about a Van Jefferson reunion? He's a free agent, 29 years old. Bring old Van back.
Okay. Ben Skowronek is also a free agent. Throwing that out there? Probably not.
Benny Sko.
Yeah. Palmer, he's an interesting one. He's going to be inexpensive, I imagine. The Chargers have had how many offensive coordinators over the last 4 years? He never really found his footing on that team. So I think, there's definitely some worth there. Darius Slayton might be priced out just because of how the market is falling. But that's an intriguing guy. I'd like to see if they can get more out of him.
Yeah. Also only 28.
Also 28. I don't think he's had much injury history. So, I think Jordan Whittington, you bring him up, and he's kind of a linchpin. He's kind of like, he had, when he was able to get in the game early on when the guys were hurt, he had some great games. So it kind of depends, if they are able to, get Demarcus Robinson back on for a good deal, Jordan Whittington moves into that outside receiver role, and Nacua is kind of your, your slot guy. It's a pretty interesting core of receivers you got there. So I don't mind that.
Okay, so let's end with that. That's a good way to end it. So, seeing the guys we talked about, another name I just saw that I wanted to throw out because he's only 25 years old is Elijah Moore, former second round pick and only 25 and will be cheap. So another option. But seeing these guys we've talked about, like, do you think it behooves the Rams to add one of these guys, or like you said, just get Robinson back, run it back with Nacua, Robinson, Whittington, and then obviously you're going to draft two guys in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I would in a perfect world, I would love a ball winner on the outside, whether that's Adams, whether that's T. Higgins, just because it would change the shape of the offense. For such a long time, Kupp was I guess not even really a long time, just last few years, Kupp was the offense. And now you have an opportunity to reshape this. This is kind of like, Jared Verse, changing how the look and the feel of the Rams defense. You think about the edge rushers that they used to get in the Donald era, and Verse doesn't fit that prototype. Mm-hmm. They reinvented it. So this is an opportunity to kind of rethink how the offense is run. Jordan Rodriguez pointed out, they drafted Gerald Everett because they were going to run a bunch of 12 personnel until it turned out Cooper Kupp is this phenom. So they change everything to 11 personnel. Is that going to look different? Are they going to use their first round pick on one of these great tight ends and allow that to shape how the offense looks? That's probably the most interesting thing that, getting rid of Kupp and possibly Stafford does is it allows you to reshape it and make it something different. I brought up a fullback a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about running backs.
Yeah,
maybe that's on the table now. The Rams defense looks much, much different than it did before Aaron Donald retired, obviously.
Yeah. Wild times, Skinny. Wild times.
Could be fun.
Yeah, but I'm leaning that way too. Like I think if you can get DeMarcus Robinson back with those three, maybe get a really cheap another name just for depth, but then you just look to the draft and probably take a receiver high that can do that outside thing. Like if they could get that McMillan kid, I always say his last name wrong, Tutoria. Am I saying that right?
That's his first name.
You're right. It's Trattoria McMillan, I think. Is that yeah?
Tet. I saw somebody refer to him as Tet, so I'm going to call him Tet McMillan.
Yeah. So sorry. Yes, the U of A kid. I mean, if they end up somehow flipping Stafford for him, essentially, I mean that he's a true like outside threat. Then you pair with Puka Nacua, and now you have a pairing that actually is similar to like what Tampa has or had with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, two guys that truly complement. And what so? Otherwise, you need to really figure out how to make it work because it just hasn't. Like the perception was Kupp and Nacua could be great. The reality was they never were together, regardless of if they were healthy or not. When they were on the field together, they were never dominant together.
Well, and for all the things that Puka Nacua is great at, he is limited. And, that's where a DeMarcus Robinson comes in and is able to catch those touchdowns late in the year. So
yeah.
It changes the landscape for sure.
Yeah. The other guy I love, and again, we're going to talk draft later, but that Jack Beck guy at TCU.
People love him for the Rams. I mean, they're talking like he's the next Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, but I love what I saw at the Senior Bowl and watched a little tape. I need to see more though. Again, if he's like, is he Cooper Kupp? Is he a slot guy, or does he give you outside threat? Because I just don't think you use a first or second on another Puka Nacua. Like to me, I don't see it.
Yeah, well, they need to get a second round pick to make that one happen.
Yeah. And it didn't work with Blake Corum either, right? They drafted the other Kyren Williams. We didn't see it. Maybe we'll see it this year. That's a whole nother conversation. So let's add some complementary pieces, guys. All right.
Love it.
Anyway, big stuff. Going to be a big offseason for the Rams. Thank you all, as always, for hanging out with us. Big thanks to Bet Online. Big thanks to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring the show. Big thanks to Skinny T, as always, for his genius takes and insights. And most important, thank you to you all. If you have not already, please hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Rams LAFB is the channel. Helps us out if you're on podcast platform, Apple, Spotify. Rams Skinny is where you can find us, or everything, including all of our Los Angeles sports content, LA Kings now up there thanks to Skinny T. LAFBnetwork.com. Everyone have a fantastic weekend. Stay dry. See you all on Monday.